Hey everybody, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to talk about Titanfall and Titanfall 2. If you notice, I have them both up, and this is important. Okay, so here's some fun things. So, I believe Titanfall did a lot of things better than Titanfall 2, with the only exception being that Titanfall 2 obviously has a campaign mode. You can't see my mouse right now. That's because I'm tabbed out of both games right now. I have them on both monitors. They're both in windowed mode, so I see some things that you guys won't. That's okay. We're going to go through what Titanfall 2 does and what Titanfall does differently. We're going to start with Titanfall, which is the bottom monitor. Or it's not actually bottom for me, but just keep track of it. I'm using the North Star app because that's the only way I can dual play Titanfall and Titanfall 2 with EA because EA is stupid. I'm going to do a comparison though. So Titanfall does a lot of fun stuff differently, right? First of all, there's a little intro cinematic. I'm gonna play this during stream, so I'm not really gonna look at this right now. But it is basically a setup for the whole game, right? Really cool, cinematic as can be. It's awesome, right? But that's the most real story. That's just an isolated story moment. The rest of it's all in the actual game, and that's the only thing that Titanfall does that Titanfall 2 does better. Okay. Because Titanfall 2 has its own dedicated campaign that is pretty good. It's not the bestest campaign in the world, but it's fun, right? Now, we're going to go... The main important parts is, first of all, this is the entire menu of Titanfall 1 and 2. I think Titanfall 2 did it better, but I think I'm biased there, right? So, moving into Titanfall 1, right? It's still online and it still requires an online kind of presence, sort of. It's a little odd. We'll talk about that. All right, we're gonna start with how you play Titanfall, right? First of all, you got play Titanfall private match and training. You still can't look for there. There is no search for server. There's no server search, which Titanfall 2 doesn't have in base game. We're gonna ignore the fact that North Star has that. North Star has that because North Star is North Star and not Titanfall 2 wholly, right? North Star is an extension and mod platform, so please bear that in mind. But North Star does also have, or Titanfall 2 does also have Frontier Defense, which is good too, right? That's not in Titanfall 1. Other than that, when you look at Titanfall 1, this is from the beginning of the game to when they had DLC. Every single type of game mode that they introduced. And there's some cool stuff in here, right? So there's attrition, frontier defense. I guess they have frontier defense. Well, I just been proven wrong. So they do have frontier defense, which is interesting. I'm gonna have to check that out. They have campaign, which what this does is this lets you play as one side or the other. You will be automatically added to one or the other, IMC or militia, and you will stay that side throughout the quote-unquote campaign. Each mission, it takes place. There's some cool stuff, and basically, if you don't load very fast, you'll miss a lot of cool stuff, right? Variety pack, which is basically like if you select all the mission types in Titanfall 2. Hardpoint is in Titanfall 2, Capture the Flag, Titanfall 2, Last Titan Standing, Titanfall 2, Wingman Last Titan Standing, which is just 2v2 Last Titan Standing, which is interesting. Deadly Ground, this one I haven't seen in Titanfall 2, however, it's possible it's in there, is the floor is lava. That's it. It's cool. I think it's pretty neat. Marked for Death, that's also, that's VIP, which is on rotation in Titanfall 2. Again, VIP on rotation. And then Skirmish, which PvP is in Titanfall 2, and I don't know if it's on rotation. Hardpoint is also on rotation. It was rotated out in like the last update, and it's really sad. So that's the options for playing a game, right? You can also do private match. I don't know if Titanfall 2 actually does have private matches. Let me go look real quick. It does the same load, like, the menus are very similar. It does have private match, I think. I'm pretty sure that's base game, right? Server browser is new, but base game, right? So, let's go back. Let's go back to Titanfall 2, or Titanfall 1, right? This is the most important part. This is the part that Titanfall 1 did largely better than Titanfall 2, in my opinion, okay? One of the biggest things people asked for after Titanfall 1 came out was more customization. Boy, did they deliver on customization, except they didn't. And this is the angry part for me, right? So, pilot loadouts are virtually the same as in Titanfall 2. If you go to a pilot loadout, right? Here's the differences, but I'm going to talk about differences and the similarities, right? Your primary weapon determines what your character looks like, and it will switch between IMC and militia depending on which faction you are last, right? Or which faction you are at the moment. And so it'll switch between different ones. And I know it's not switching right this minute, right? And you can choose, you know, male or female as well, right? And it changes based on, right? So then if you go to the longbow, there's only 3. There is only the 3, right? But you do get to choose it. And then it does another thing. What did I have here? I had the EV8. No suppressor. So what they did was the burn cards will come into play, and I'll talk about those in a minute. But the burn cards are part of this, right? You get to choose your anti-Titan weapon, which is the same, and a sidearm, which is the same. Tactical ability. This is where you get cloak, stim, and active radar pulse. Active radar pulse is similar to map hack, more so than the sonar pulse, the pulse blade. But this is the only limitation as far as pilots go. You only have the 3 of these, right? And then you have 4 of these, which has, you know, pretty good. There's more grenades and more tactical abilities in the Titanfall 2. Titanfall 1 doesn't have as much. That's okay. That's fine. I still think this is better, but that's just me. There are more kits than in Titanfall 2, right? They took away the kits, whereas, you know, you could get an enhanced parkour kit, explosive packs, power cell, grunt and gun, which does the same perk. Some of these are perks that you can get now, right? On your individual weapons instead. And then some of them are, you know, still things. I think they kept power cell and stealth kit, and they basically revamped everything else. And then they made the dome shield and the warp fall part of the Titan itself instead of part of the pilot. There's a minion detector. There's Dead Man's Trigger, which you explode whenever, you know, yeah. Ice Pick, which lets you hack faster, which is really cool. Another thing that I think they do hacking specters in Titanfall 2. I don't remember, but it's not as interesting for some reason. And then, you know, enhanced Titan chip, right? And then you can change gender, obviously, and then that's the pilot side, right? And we're gonna go over to the pilot side for here. Now, the one thing, the pilot side, everything's awesome, right? You get to choose what character you are. You get to choose what your ability is. I wish they'd separate the character and the ability, because I would like to be this one with the phase ability, but that's just me. They let you choose your grenade, and there's more grenades. Then they have, you know, obviously gender. Then they have this. This is what adds more customization to the game. And I don't like this because they took away all the other stuff to add this. And you're asking, what other stuff did they take away? They took away all the Titan stuff. And I'll get back to that shortly, right? And then, you know, you have your obvious... They have more weapons, and they have the weapons, right? And so you can swap whether you have Titan or not there and all that stuff. The abilities you have, Phase Embark, Power Cell, Fast Regen, and Ordnance Expert. With the other one where you can get like Low Profile, Wall Hang, Hover, which these are 2 separate abilities that the other kits had on Titanfall 1 that are in Titanfall 2 separated. Kill Report, which wasn't in Titanfall 1. I think Titanfall 1 actually had a report. I don't remember. And then Titan Hunter, which, you know, Titan meter stuff. Cool. And then you get custom melees and stuff, which is neat, but I don't care particularly, right? But customization is more extensive on the pilot side, right? It's just added to what the pilot already had. And this is important, okay? While they improved the pilot side, the music is also pretty cool, right? The Titan side is where it hurts, okay? I'm gonna mess with this one. So, you'll already have seen the difference between the Titans here, right? So, you get the choice of chassis, which this tells you the base level of what your Titan can and can't do, along with determines your core ability. That's it, right? And I think that was better. In this one, you don't get to choose a chassis, right? You choose all of the base loadouts, and it chooses everything else for you. Say you want to have the XO16, you have to be Monarch. You cannot be anything else. You want the plasma railgun, you have to be North Star. Can't be anything else. That means you have preset abilities, and you don't get to choose anything else, right? And I hate that, because in Titanfall 1, you got to choose, do you want quad rockets, 40mm, chain gun, plasma railgun, arc cannon, which is removed as well, and triple threat, which is the gun on the Ronin, right? You can choose that. You got to choose between vortex, electric smoke, or particle wall, right? And then you got to choose rocket salvos, slaved warheads, cluster missiles, or multi-target missile system, right? You got your kit, which is nuclear ejection regen boosters, because another thing, Titans in Titanfall 1 have their personal shields that regen over time if you're careful, right? This is important because it means that you can, have a longer lasting Titan. In Titanfall 2, I've always felt Titans are very fragile versus Titanfall 1, the regression really hurts for some reason. I don't know why they did it. It makes me not want to be in my Titan while playing Titanfall. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, Titanfall 1 did this where you have the thing, and then nuclear ejection, regen booster, fast autoloader, which is your ordnance, which is your ordnance ability, which is like missiles and stuff. Dash quick charger, which lets you increase how fast your dash charges. On an ogre, that's not very good, but you never know. And then this is the tactical charger, right? And then you get your second kit, right? Auto eject, survivor, which makes it where your doom state stays longer because it replenishes over time. Core extender, which allows you to have a longer life on your core ability. In the case of an ogre, it would be a longer shield thing, I guess. Big punch, which increases your melee attack power. I think they should have kept some of this. And then core accelerator, which makes your Titan core ability charge up more quickly, which is nice. Hold on 1 second. Anyway, so that's the base chassis, base Titan stuff that they took out in Titanfall 2, because you don't get any of that. The most you get is you get to choose auto eject and stuff like that normally, right? And then you get to choose whether it has a bonus to whatever kit it already has, and then you get to choose if you want warp fall or not. That's it. And that doesn't seem as much, right? The one thing that Titanfall 2 has over the Titans in Titanfall 1 is the customization style. In this one, you only get to choose an insignia, which the insignia is placed on the Titan somewhere. I don't remember where. We'll go look at that shortly. But I want to finish through this, right? And it's cool. It's neat. You know what I mean? It's a little bit of personalization, and I do think that they should have done, proper camos and stuff like that on your Titan. It was cooler, right? The camos are definitely better on Titanfall 2 than Titanfall 1, because, you get the custom ones. In Titanfall 1, however, the reason they didn't do that is because your Titan is painted in either quote-unquote militia colors or quote-unquote IMC colors, right? For the campaign purposes, right? Because if I was IMC, my Titan would be much more white and painted and stuff, right? The big thing about Titanfall 2 and Titanfall 1, Titanfall 2 devs promised, they have said this, I don't remember where, but I know they said this. It's been quoted multiple times from Twitter, back when Twitter was still called Twitter, right? That they would have Titan OS voices. They would have Titan OS voices like this.
Very well. Restoring manual.
AI offline.
Damage core online.
Warning, hostile pilot
Pilotensteuerung aktiviert.
Damage core online.
IA desconectada. Pilot enemy éliminé. Кекай. Текиが数的優位. Доступно ядро урона.
So there is that, and that's the one thing Titanfall 1 did a whole lot better, is the customization of the actual Titan itself and how you play it and stuff like that, versus Titanfall 2's rather, frankly, lazy system. The other systems they removed that I don't really have a personal stake in per se is the boost system, right? So what they did was they removed burn cards, which I'm going to talk about this in a minute, for this system over here, right? Where you get to choose a boost, right? But if you'll notice, there's no changing of skins. In Titanfall 1, you got these things called Spectre Camo, which lets you play as a Spectre, and there's a couple other things that you can get, like you can get instant Titans and stuff like that. I think I preferred the burn cards. However, you know, to each their own, right? There's a lot of bonuses to being able to have map hack almost guaranteed all the time, right? And I think that's actually why I prefer the boosts not being there and the burn cards being there, because map hack was you could have 3 total map hacks a game max, right? Usually you'd only carry 1, I believe. I don't know for sure, right? But that was the max. So a good player could have map hack if they really wanted to, or whatever they wanted to do. There was more strategy to it. You could also pop in like amped and all this other stuff that they have here in the boosts, but you could only have the total of 3, and I feel like that was much more balanced, right? There's also the black market, which is just, you know, you can get insignias, you can get, you know, deals on different cards and stuff. Which actually, this is good because it shows you some more stuff that you can get, like, you know, extra XP, satellite uplink, which does minimap stuff, fast learner, R97, amp salvo. You know what I mean? There's this forge certifications. For this was because of the generation system in Titanfall 1 being a lot harder to do than Titanfall 2. So, you know, and then again, you could buy different voices. But Titanfall 2 didn't do that. Titanfall 2, they have a faction, which is coolio. Like, this is neat. I wish they'd keep this. I want them to make it where when I pick a Titan chassis, I still have, like, the core ability and, like, the tether trap and the hover for my North Star. But the cluster missile I could change, and I could change the plasma railgun, right? Because all of this is fine for the most part, but I'd prefer to have an XO16 because I like the chain gun, right? I think the chain gun is more fun. I want to play the chain gun. They could also add the Brute rocket launcher, which is the quad rocket launcher, which is in Titanfall 1. Right? They have the quad rockets, they got the chain gun, they have the 40mm plasma, and then arc cannon, and then triple threat. Which they replaced the arc cannon with the scorch cannon, which is fine. And you'll notice that most of these Titans have a similar theme, right? This is a hold on. This is an Atlas chassis, right? The Ion. Atlas chassis. And then this is the custom chassis. Ogre chassis. Right? Ogre chassis. And then, you know, the Strider chassis. You can see the old the style of what was going on in there, but it's so much drastically changed, and I don't like it as much. I prefer being able to choose if I was you know, the chassis base and then all that stuff. And it's like, so if I went to North Star, you know what? To be fair, I don't mind if I couldn't specifically choose, you know, what chassis it was, if I could change the weapon of the primary weapon of these characters, right? Keeping the middle mouse button and the G and the V button all being the same, the core, the defensive, and the utility being the same for every chassis. Like, you know, I can't change that on the North Star, can't change that on the Scorch, can't change that on the Splitter, on Ion. You know, if I can't change that, that's fine. But lead wall's crap, right? Scorch cannon would be great on other Titans too, but like at the same time could also be horrible. The plasma railgun is great as a single Titan shooter and stuff like that, but it's very slow, and I'd like to not have that on something as maneuverable as North Star. You know, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, I'd like to mix and match and play with things. I'd probably end up being a North Star main if they let me change my primary weapon and my offensive weapon and my offensive, right? Honestly, I wouldn't change North Star's offensive. I'd keep cluster missiles. Cluster missiles are great. But there are some other things you could do, right? You could make it where you could have oh shoot. You could have tracking rockets, which would be neat, right? You could have the arc wave or the scorch firewall or what, or you know, you could switch it up, right? I think that's what needed. That's what I think needs to change about Titanfall 2. And that's what I think Titanfall 1 did better as, right? Titanfall 1 just did it better. That's my opinion though. I do like the customization of colors and stuff. I know my North Star is base color. That's because I'm playing the North Star server, so but you know, it just makes me sad. It makes me upsetty spaghettis. So yeah, I wanted to go on a rant about this for God 20 minutes. I have them both I have both games pulled open right now. I'm gonna be playing Titanfall 1 on my stream today, which will be starting in like 20 minutes or so after this video goes up. So you know, please by all means check that out, and I hope you guys have a nice rest of your day. Bye.